How cool is this that we actually caught this on camera and it was this morning?
Well, I kind of had my jaw drop when I saw this first. And, you know, you just kind of mentioned it. I thought, well, wait a second, it's 2025. Is this an artificial image or can we vouch for it? And thankfully we know the source and so it's real. But this is something that, Brad, I've definitely never seen this in that type of a picture form before. But sprites are kind of one of those weather phenomenons, these little like red things at the top in the image for the viewers. That's something that is kind of on like a bucket list for storm photographers. They might go years and years and really try and hunt these things down. Not always able to see them on top of a thunderstorm in that way. If you could kind of talk about what are these sprites in the first place and why are we even seeing them kind of above the cloud? Like what's the process behind that?
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. It's called upper atmospheric lightning. That's a mouthful. And these actually happen above the positive strikes and some of the larger strikes we get in thunderstorms. They're actually really detrimental to spacecraft. In fact, this is one of the reasons that some satellites, low Earth orbiting satellites, and this any launch will stay away from thunderstorms. But if Jeb could pull up my laptop, I'll show you an image here. Here's an example from NASA, kind of showing all the different upper atmospheric lightning that you can get. There's something called red sprites, which you talked about, Tim, and there's a photographer out in the plains that I follow. He captures these all the time, and it's from thunderstorms that are like 3 states away. It blows my mind. You've got these blue jets. You've got these things called tendrils, and then elves, which are this green halo thing. But the cool thing about the shot that we caught this morning, it was a blue jet going up as well as the sprites on the top of it. So it was like this cool combination. And these happen quite a bit. They're still widely misunderstood. But I had to look today, Tim, because someone said, oh, this is the first time I've ever heard of this. And I had to look. Did you know that these were first observed and talked about in 1886? So imagine that these things have been around since 1886, but we still don't know a whole lot about them. And spacecraft and satellites and astronauts are given.
That's just amazing. Wow. Really amazing stuff. And that's 328,000 feet in the air, basically 100 kilometers up there. It's just like, whew.
Your mind. There you go. Sorry, you couldn't hear me. I was talking. I was going to say that kind of blows my mind as well. Well, thanks, Tim. That was I wanted to end the show with that because it blew my mind when I saw that, and it's a great ad. Tim, I won't be here tomorrow. I will be gone. I hope you have a great 4th of July, and everybody else out there, stick around. Vanessa Rufus is coming up next.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for sticking around for Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We'll be together for the next couple of hours. Right off the top, we want to address a big national headline on the political front, and that is the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill. It is now on President Trump's desk. He is set to sign it tomorrow, as he intended for that deadline to be July 4th. He wants to do this on Independence Day. Of course, we've been reminding folks throughout the evening here on WCNC Plus, we do plan to carry that signing of the bill live when it happens. But in the meantime, as we look ahead to that event in the coming hours, we wanted to talk about some of the impacts the bill might bring, not in just a national scale, but also from a local level as well as implications for the political landscape going forward in the Carolinas. So with that, we want to turn to a local professor of political science and public administration, speaking with us just a couple of hours ago here on Live Impact News on his thoughts. One Big Beautiful Bill, as we mentioned, this just passed both chambers at this point of the Congress. So we wanted to talk about some of the implications of this policy, but also we're just kind of diving into the nitty-gritty of how this legislation got through. We have Eric Heberlig, who's joining us from UNC Charlotte, political science and public administration professor. Thank you so much for being with us here on Live Impact News. We wanted to talk a bit about the passage of this legislation because we had mentioned, the fact that there were a lot of gymnastics that have happened in recent days, in recent weeks to get this through. So I'm just kind of curious your take on how this was able to get done, because we knew there were some holdouts in the Republican Party, and that was threatening the passage.
There were. President Trump was an advocate for his own package. He spent a lot of time calling and meeting with members of Congress, apparently made a number of promises to deal with some of the issues that caused the objections of some Republicans, and they trust him to follow through on that, and that was enough to earn their votes to pass it.
So as far as, the precedence of this bill being passed, I mean, I feel like we don't always see such a sweeping type of, bill getting through with so many kind of different fingers, if you will. Can you talk about, just the scope of the bill and the importance of it as far as, the historical aspects and elements of this getting through?
Well, it's a big bill in terms of its cost. It's a very significant tax reduction package. Also makes very significant cuts to Medicaid, which is the health care program for the poor. Many of the tax elements of it, though, are really just renewals of a tax package that was passed in the first Trump administration, but for budgetary reasons, they set a short timeline on it, so now had to vote on it again, essentially, to keep those tax breaks going. So that's an open question about how much economic impact it's going to have, because it's just continuing what's already in place.
Now, I mean, we did see some celebration, as the bill finally passed the House amongst a lot of Republican leadership. But we've alluded to the fact that there were some Republican holdouts, within the party who either did not agree with the scope of the cuts, particularly to Medicaid. We also saw some folks who are kind of on the other side saying this is not doing enough to cut. And so, we saw, for example, Senator Tillis, who, his stance on the bill seemingly pushing his political future in a certain direction. Now we see him deciding not to run for re-election after facing some criticism from the president for taking his stance against the One Big Beautiful Bill. We even saw, on the House side, South Carolina Congressman Ralph Norman not voting to advance this past a committee. So, I'm curious to see, some of we alluded to it kind of as gymnastics, but the fact that there were a lot of discussions, and even yesterday there was like a procedural vote that was held up kind of to stall to make sure that folks were able to get to D.C., and also holdouts were able to meet directly with the president. I mean, this felt like this was moving fast and furious.
Sure. President Trump made it clear that he wanted this voted on by Independence Day. Kind of a symbolic way of linking patriotism to the passage of his legislation, and they were able to get it done. And I think Senator Tillis's events of the weekend probably helped pull some of those reluctant Republicans in line, that they saw, well, if you cross the president, your career is at risk. So they were willing to swallow their doubts and vote for it and avoid taking on Trump and his supporters in a Republican primary and taking their risk with the general electorate in November.
Now, I mean, we heard from the Democratic side a lot of the concerns. I mean, there were multiple concerns we heard Democrats voicing over recent weeks as this bill was moving along. But I felt like primarily some of the things we were hearing were concerns about the impacts to Medicaid. We heard about SNAP benefits, the issues that might cause for the folks receiving those benefits, but also maybe even food pantries that would eventually have to kind of pick up the slack in some situations where folks were no longer getting that food supplemented. We hear Democrats saying that they feel like this is going to bite Republicans in the butt when it comes on down the road and it's time for folks to vote in midterms and such. What are you hearing on that front, and how much of an impact do you think that could have on voters, when it is time to eventually vote again?
Well, we'll see. The poor tend to be the least likely demographic to turn out to vote. Likewise, how much of an impact this will have before the 22 elections, how noticeable it will be to them is another matter. Certainly the Democrats will make this a theme of their advertising. Certainly they'll make the point that most of the tax breaks will benefit upper income taxpayers, where the cuts come to the poor, and argue about the social equity implications of that. How that will resonate with voters, we'll have to see. I think it depends more on the state of the economy. If the economy stays in good shape, voters will not mind. Well, they'll credit the president for passing it. If the economy goes down, regardless of whether this bill has anything to do with it, Democrats would benefit anyway.
I know this is kind of a bit of a tangential topic. We kind of touched on it briefly just for a moment. I'm just curious your take on the Senate seat that is seemingly coming up for grabs soon, the one where we mentioned Senator Tillis will not be running for re-election. There are some names being tossed around on the Republican side, potentially Laura Trump, potentially we're seeing on the Democratic side former Governor Roy Cooper, his name being thrown into the hat. We also know that Wiley Nickel has expressed an interest already for that seat. So what are you watching for that particular race? I feel like this is going to be a very contentious race, probably one with a lot of money being spent. I mean, this is really going to be something I think folks are going to be watching nationwide.
The North Carolina Senate seat was going to be one of the most competitive and most costly anyway, but now that it's an open seat, they're always more costly, more competitive. So particularly if you get two marquee names like Governor Cooper and Laura Trump, this is going to be one to watch, one where the focus nationally will be on North Carolina.
So for the bigger names that we are seeing, like for example Laura Trump and former Governor Roy Cooper, what do you think the appeal would be for each of those candidates for their respective parties, or even for independents or undecided voters in the middle?
Well, both of them have names that are immediately recognizable to most of the electorate, and that's 90% of the battle in a political election. So Governor Cooper has won multiple times statewide, including twice as governor. Donald Trump also won, so Cooper has demonstrated his ability to win crossover votes from independents and perhaps some Republicans. Laura Trump, of course, comes with the Trump name and branding and money and national enthusiasm that come with the Trump name. So they're going to generate lots of enthusiasm on both sides in North Carolina, lots of outside spending from interest groups around the country who want to affect the outcome of this race. So we're going to have our fill of advertisements.
To get back to One Big Beautiful Bill, and maybe just the larger, political headlines that we're seeing, on a daily and weekly basis, I feel like there are some interesting, storylines to follow on a political front anytime, but this is a really interesting time politically, I feel like, particularly. So I'm just curious, as a professor, what are you telling your students as far as, things to watch as they either watch the news or just watch how things are developing, how to be more educated consumers of political messaging and or, headlines in general? I'm just curious what you're telling your students.
Yeah, so the Tillis case was one where I actually emailed my students about it over the weekend because it really illustrated a number of the themes we've talked about, particularly the power of the parties in Washington, the polarization that we've seen, that one of the few senators who tries to work across party lines, build coalitions, basically said it's impossible to do so in Washington. It's impossible to win even in a competitive state like North Carolina because either I can't get past the primary or can't get credit from the other side for doing it, so I'm going to go home and join my grandkids. And that's a loss for all of us when you don't have many members who even think it's worth the effort of trying to be bipartisan, and those who do just throw up their hands in frustration and leave the battlefield to those who are less willing to be bipartisan. So we get the conflict and the acrimony that we all say we don't want.
I get so, interested and fascinated with the movement of the parties over the decades. And actually just the other day, my producer Jeb and I were talking about the fact that, I feel like average Americans might feel this, just in their gut, period. But if you look at research showing the political parties, and I've seen it kind of illustrated as if it were a football field, and decades ago you had Republicans and Democrats starting in the middle at the 50-yard line. At this point, to maybe varying degrees, you have each party that has respectively moved closer to the end zones, and I get really fascinated with some of the reasons why.
I'd say they're out in the parking lots, not in the end zones.
There you go. Okay. I guess I was being generous in some ways, but yeah, like what sort of factors come to mind, off the top of your head, like that? What is driving that? Because I feel like I've seen various reasons. I'm sure it's not just one reason.
No, so a lot of it has to do with the shift in the South. The South used to be solidly Democratic. Now it's solidly Republican. So the conservative Democrats who used to balance out the liberal northern wing of the party have all shifted to the Republican Party. So you have a solidly conservative Republican Party, a more solidly liberal Democratic Party. And the flip side of that is that the moderate and liberal Republicans who used to be in the Northeast and West Coast, those areas have been taken over by liberal Democrats. So you just have no middle anymore in Congress. It's all either conservative Republicans or liberal Democrats. So even if they had the personal inclinations to work together, they just agree on less than they used to.
I know nobody has a crystal ball, but eventually will that kind of come to a head in the sense that I'm assuming there's a certain point where the parties couldn't go any farther to the direction going without losing folks, right, that are maybe more in the middle. And so I don't know if you have thoughts on what parties might look like, in the future.
Yeah, well, that's the challenge. And I think one reason why we've seen the presidency flip back and forth over the last few elections, and Congress, at least one chamber, flip back and forth in the last few elections, is that moderates and independents see two choices that they don't like. So they vote based on, what's the condition of the economy, or, whose personality do I like most, or just taking it out on whoever's in charge, because they can't decide between two choices that they don't like. And that's not a good situation to be in, obviously.
As we go forward here with the political cycle, what will you be watching? I mean, what sort of storylines are catching your eye the most? As we move beyond the one big beautiful bill, which we expect at this point, since it's going to the president's desk that he would sign it, he will sign it. What other things are you watching right now?
So I think that a couple keys from the North Carolina perspective. What names do we get for the Senate race? That'll drive our politics over the next year and a half. In Washington, is this really Congress's last big act? President Trump has been using executive orders purposely to try to avoid coming to Congress. Now that he's gotten what he really wants out of Congress, is Congress going to do anything significant for the rest of the term?
Yeah. Anything you want to leave us with before we wrap things up here on Live Impact News with you, Mr. Heberleg?
I don't. It's been good to talk to you.
Okay. Well, we certainly appreciate your time. Dr. Eric Heberleg, once again, political science and public administration professor with UNC Charlotte. Come back and visit us here on Live Impact News anytime. We enjoyed the insights. Okay, and we'll remind you once again that we will have coverage of that signing tomorrow. It's expected to be in the afternoon. You can watch it here on Live Impact News on WCNC+. All right, with that, we want to pivot to an exciting headline for our area because we've got some history being made at Johnson C. Smith University, and that is one of the youngest incoming freshmen, one of the youngest students to ever enroll at the school. And we have the pleasure of speaking with him, his mother, and his brothers, who are also kind of part of this history-making moment. So we got a full house here inside the Live Impact News studio. Up at the mics, though, we are starting with Josiah Matthews and Dr. Shakia Talley Matthews. So Josiah is 15. Josiah is going to be entering Johnson C. Smith University as one of the youngest students. This is super exciting. I mean, how did you get to this point where you're already going into college?
Well, I got to this point by taking multiple grades at a time, such as 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and 6th and 7th.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that you were homeschooled, yes. And Shakia, you had a hand in the educational process here.
Yes.
What was that like?
Josiah's been homeschooling since 1st grade. He went to a private school for kindergarten, and he went there early. He started kindergarten at 4 years old. He's just been really smart, really fast with comprehension, so the more that he comprehended, I just kept pushing him to do more work.
Yeah, I mean,
just never letting up on anything.
Yeah, I'm curious, when you discovered the precociousness, if you will. When did you start to see the signs of that?
Maybe when his brothers entered like pre-K. Mm-hmm. I would sit there and I would review stories with them, and he's answering questions right along with them. So I said, oh, okay, he's really advanced, and I just, just kept pushing him. He wanted to go to school with his brothers when they were starting school, so I was like, I got to get this kid in school. And when we decided to homeschool, once he learned how to read, it was just like, hey, let's go full steam ahead. And we just pushed him as much as he would take. He never broke or anything like that. He was willing to learn, so we just kept going.
Yeah.
He wanted to keep up with his brothers.
That's so incredible. And I mean, we should mention too the fact that all of the brothers are involved in this history-making moment, because Josiah, you're going to be entering, and we also have Zechariah and Isaiah, who are going to be entering as well, Johnson C. Smith University at the same time.
And they're all taking summer classes right now, so they'll have 2 credits when the fall semester starts. So they're getting a head start on college life this summer, living in the dorms and, all the things.
Yeah.
Cafeteria.
Well, Josiah, I understand that you're interested in, is it computer science that you plan on taking, your focus?
Yes.
Yeah. Talk about that. What got you interested in that, and what do you hope to learn? Do you have plans that, after you graduate, maybe you want to go into a certain field and do a certain type of work?
Well, I got interested in computer science because when I was younger, I would like to build things with Legos, and I think this really pushed me to want to go into that field. And I have dreams and aspiration of starting a company that would manufacture computers.
Okay. That's incredible to have that focus, to know what you want, and you're obviously pursuing it. What's the word? I don't want to say aggressively, but you're pursuing it with full force, which is so spectacular to see. Now, I also understand that you have an interest in music, and so this is seemingly a thread that runs in common amongst the family. So talk about your interest in music and how that's going to play a role when you go to JCSU.
Well, I think I got my interest in music from my dad because he was a drummer, and I play bass guitar, saxophone, and piano. Wow. And I can't wait to participate in the band at Johnson C. Smith University.
Yeah. I mean, Shakia, when I look at you when he's talking because I see you're smiling.
Yes.
It kind of almost looks like you're tearing up too. The pride is there. I can see it.
Really proud of him. Really proud of all the boys.
Aw.
Really proud of the boys. They're hardworking kids, really determined. Josiah tells you that, he plays all these instruments, but he taught himself all 3 of those
Yeah.
instruments. So, yes, it's really, heartwarming, and it's just like a proud mom. Like, your kid takes interest in something, and they just push themselves to get better at it. And it's really remarkable for all 3 of the boys, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious too if playing into the pride, the fact that they will be going to Johnson C. Smith, because I understand you graduated
Yes,
from there as well.
I'm a proud alumni, class of 2005 from Johnson C. Smith University. So the boys have always been, to the campus, but for that to be their choice when it was time to look at schools, because they looked at a few. We went to California and looked at a few schools and back on the East Coast. So they've been looking at colleges for years. They actually was always on campus with me when I was doing my master's and my doctorate. So, it was already ingrained that higher education was going to be the next step in their lives. So it's a joyous moment to see them, progress to this level, and especially Josiah at 15. We didn't plan for him to go to college this young, but it just worked out this way.
Yeah, I mean, is there, I'm just wondering if there's a little bit of bittersweet knowing too, you're going to have all 3 guys leaving to go to college at the same time.
Yes,
is that tough?
It is. They actually left 2 weeks ago, moved them into the dorms. And I'm like, hey guys, you want to come home for Sunday dinner?
Yeah.
And Joe's like, Mom, I got to go to the pool hall and play pool with my friends. So, I mean, he's really enjoying it. His brothers are adjusting and enjoying college as well. So now we're discussing, moving into the dorms for the fall and what that's going to look like for them with band and everything. So
Yeah, I mean, we definitely talked about how this is a unique situation, the fact that this is history making, but for folks who are watching and maybe they're on the parent side or guardian side, or they're a mentor, they're, a figure of inspiration for, someone of younger generation, what would you tell them about encouraging and, pushing someone to be whatever it is that they want to be and try to achieve what they want to achieve?
Just to set goals for yourself and for your children, and your community. Just tell kids and young people, set goals. When you reach that goal, set some new goals, Always strive for excellence. That's my motto. I strive for excellence.
Yeah. I mean, Josiah, how are things going so far? I mean, it sounds like you're starting to get a taste of things and making friends and participating in programs already. So how is that experience going? Have you learned anything that's been like, oh, this is different. I've never experienced this before, but this is kind of cool.
Well, during my time in college, by participating in the Becoming Kings program, I have got to see what it's like to be in a real classroom. It's kind of the same but different. The academics is the same, it's just the social aspect.
Yeah. I mean, this is, from what I understand, it's kind of Becoming Kings. This is like a mentorship program, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How does that work? What does the program entail? How is the mentorship brought in, and how are the interactions, coming about, in this program?
So Johnson C. Smith Becoming Kings program, I'll say a little bit of what I know about it. It's a university initiative that mentors young African American men, and I guess any guys that's going to school there, but it's a HBCU.
Yeah.
So they mentor 25 young men that's transitioned into their freshman year of college. They do a 6-week program where they take 2 courses and they have intensive mentorship from upperclassmen students as well as community figures, and they come in and help them learn how to network, just building social capital. They go out into the community and they go visit different businesses, Fortune 500 companies, and just teach them business aspects. And I think they also have a component where they have to do a project and they compete for like $1,000 scholarship on top of the $6,000 that they'll get at the end of their program. That's renewable over 4 years of their college experience.
Ooh. So it pays off in a few ways, potentially. That's great to hear. So I know that we alluded to the fact we've got a full house and we only have so many microphones. We'll try to work on that in the future, but I do want to swap out and hear from some of the brothers too. So if Zechariah and Isaiah, if you can come out and swap out with your mom and your brother, I'd like to hear from y'all as well. And so we'll just remind folks too, we kind of mentioned this as we started the conversation here. So this is, we have Josiah, who is 15. We have Zechariah and we have Isaiah, who are 18. But everyone is going to be starting here at the same time. And I'm, wondering how y'all are feeling, knowing that you're going to be spending your college time. Your brother's going to be there. Obviously, there's a lot of interest with your story. We'll start with Zechariah. How has the experience been so far?
It's been pretty good. I've been excited for the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, I understand the program you're part of as well, the mentorship program, Becoming
Yes.
Kings. What has that taught you thus far? How is the network going? What are the activities, bringing to the table for you?
So, from what I'm doing right now, it's just really meeting new people, experiencing like new things, taking the new courses, and just mostly stuff like that.
Yeah, and we alluded to this as well, the fact that there is musical excitement and tendencies in the family. So talk about what instrument you play and how you're going to incorporate that into your experience at Johnson C. Smith.
Okay, so I actually play drum set.
Yeah.
But this year I'm going to be a band manager.
Oh, so is that like a drum major or like, sorry, I was on the orchestra side of things during school. So yeah, what's a band manager?
Okay, so band manager it's an interesting position. It's where, I'm trying to put it into words. It's where you like help assist the bands with coaching them and like giving them some water or checking up on them.
Yeah.
Like, do we need this? Do we need that? What type of pieces do they need?
Yes.
Stuff like that.
I get it. Well, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of moving parts with marching band. I remember from watching marching band, and yeah, that's going to be a great role. And what are you going to be studying, as far as your educational focus?
I'm going to be doing business administration.
Okay. What are your goals? What do you plan on using that degree for? If you know, I mean, it's okay if you don't, but yeah.
So what I have in sight for right now, I might change it later, but I think that would be making a business for myself.
Yeah. Okay. Isaiah, what are you going to be studying?
I'm going to do the same thing too.
Business?
Yeah.
Business as well? Do you think, are you going to have competing businesses? Or are you
No,
you're going to go together?
I just randomly pick it.
Okay. Well, that's the cool thing about college is, you can try whatever you think you like, and maybe you don't like it. You could try something else. I mean, it's all about finding out what you want to do. And, so I hope it's a fruitful effort for you, but, if it isn't, and you can find something else if it doesn't float your boat, if you will. You play an instrument too? What do you play?
Yeah, I play trumpet.
Okay. So you will be in marching band? Will you be playing the trumpet?
Yeah.
Yeah. How's the experience been like so far at the school?
It's half exciting, half nervous at the same time, and I'm enjoying it so far. Having my times.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is it comforting to have your brothers with you to kind of have, I want to say, like support, emotional support, whatever you need,
Yeah,
from them?
like that.
Yeah. Have y'all hung out already together?
In our dorm rooms, yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In our dorm rooms.
Well, cool. I mean, I'm so excited for y'all. This is such a great story to share with folks. Shakia, did you want to come back and share anything as we wrap things up? Do you have a final message for folks? And if you do, you can come back to the mic and share it. And Josiah will ask you the same thing too. Josiah is like, I've shared. Shakia.
I'm really excited for, what the boys are doing, especially, going into their first year at, Johnson C. Smith University. I'm really excited for Zach, Isaiah, and Joe as they discover the path that they want to take.
Yeah.
And also inspiring to other families, whatever the path that they're on, whether it's homeschooling, unschooling, traditional schooling, just keep pushing your kids, apply for scholarships, look for schools that support the needs of your children.
Yeah. Why is Johnson C. Smith so important to you?
Johnson C. Smith is a cultural hub where it welcomes people in. It's like a family. Most large institutions, you're just a number, your ID number, but at Johnson C. Smith, you really have a name, and the people there love you, from the cafeteria workers to the custodians to your professors to the people in the business office and financial aid. They really get to know you. And like, I've met people 20 plus years ago, and I still go back, and the director of residence life for the boys was my residence life director. So just
what?
Yes, still employed. Shout out to Mr. McPherson.
That's incredible.
Yeah, just people like that. Like, they never forget your face, no matter you've grown older, you've had children. It's just like a family, and I think that's like really what everybody's looking for in life. A place where they fit in. And Johnson C. Smith is definitely a place where you're not just a number. You're definitely a human face with a family. And it's definitely a family culture.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And I'm so excited for your boys. I mean, they're fantastic. It's such a pleasure to speak with all of you, and congrats.
Thank you.
Have a fantastic college
Thanks for having
experience.
us.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you here on Live Impact News, and keep us posted.
Yes.
We want to hear about, exciting things coming.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Come visit us when the band season starts during football
Yes,
season.
absolutely. All right. With that, we're going to turn to our next topic here on Live Impact News. Sit tight, folks. We'll get you in just a second. We wanted to turn to a really heated discussion we saw today out of Gastonia. If you've been following the last few days, there have been some backlash against this outdoor cooling center. So this is for folks who need the cooling support. Maybe they're unhoused, maybe they do not have a stable source of cooling, but it was set up outdoors. There was backlash. City leaders eventually moved it indoors, and now we are seeing an emergency meeting that was being called today, and it got pretty contentious as city leaders try to get to the bottom of what happened and how they can better serve the community going forward. So let's listen into that conversation.
Sure, I'll be happy to. If you're so inclined, please bow your head and pray with me. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you today for all the blessings that you've given us. Lord, we thank you for the city and all those who dwell within it, and for those who work so hard to make it a place where people can come together and be safe and work and play and live in a sense of community. Lord, we pray that we would continue to work toward these goals of making sure we are providing our citizens with the best services possible, and that we as citizens will reach out and work with all those in our community and do what we can to make sure all needs are met in every neighborhood and every part of our city. And Lord, as we deal with difficult situations and issues at hand, Lord, we just pray that you will guide us, that you will give us the wisdom and discernment that we need, and that we would do everything from a stance of a pure heart with pure motives. And Lord, we just pray that you will bless those that are traveling during this weekend and give them safety. Those that may be suffering from illness at this time, that you would give them healing and comfort. And for those that may be suffering in other ways, Lord, we just pray that you would bring comfort to them through others who you would use as your instrument. And we just ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I apologize if I appear to be a little shaky, because I am I'm not a very happy citizen right now. I'm not a very happy mayor. We can't take a vote today on what our city staff was directed to do on Monday. Our city manager was informed of the wishes of the council. he decided to go against those. I do not betray confidences, and I do not leak information. We had a council person this week leak information, and I have been put on notice that it's being spread that this happened on the watch of Mayor Franks. Guess what? We also had another council person talk about leadership. I have been dealing with this issue along with these two ladies right here, Councilwoman Stepp and Councilwoman Littlejohn, since last Wednesday morning. Okay? Some people tried to get me and were thinking of getting me arrested for trespassing. Okay? So I'm trying to stay calm. Okay? Actions speak louder than words. Now, Councilman Katsupius isn't here, and I understand that because this was short notice, and he does have a business to run. But I will be calling an emergency meeting every day until I get a quorum, okay? Because what I have witnessed this week has nothing to do with citizens. It all has to do with politics. And Councilwoman Littlejohn and Councilwoman Stepp are say, please, they're going under their breath saying, stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. I'm going to explain to you. How many people here went to Hunter Huss? Well, not too many of them.
Oh, we're not raising our...
Oh, I'm sorry. How many people here grew up in South Gastonia, North Carolina? How many people grew up in West Gastonia?
Southwest.
In Southwest? Any of that? It's bred into us that we fight for what is right and we do what is right. In my life, I've had to make hard decisions, and sometimes those decisions have adverse effect on me. But guess what, buttercups? That's what has to be done. That's what leadership is. I am going to share with the news media, because I didn't do it, but you want to put our confidential conversations out there. And I told these two that I would not name names, but most people can figure it out. Okay? So at the end of the day, and I had a really, really long talk with the man that I respect, admire, and look up to, even though he's a little bit younger than I am. And I told him I would be calm and I would be okay. But I will share all of this with the news media, and they will see who's right and who's wrong. Okay? The last time we had a meeting, we were at the chambers over here, and everybody's like, oh, the mayor's crazy, the mayor's crazy. Because I called everybody that sits on the dais out about the budget. Even Councilwoman Stepp, she wasn't very happy. But we still talk and we're still friends. Other people don't want to talk to me because I called them out. So we voted on a budget and gave money to the Continuum of Care, which is Health Net Gaston. So two people that work for Health Net Gaston are the ones that were saying, oh, this happened on the mayor's watch. Guess what? That makes it political. I am not a politician, because if I was, I wouldn't be up here shaking, I wouldn't have called this meeting. But guess what? You just have to do what's right. And you want to know who stepped up, citizens? Tasha White. You know how much money Tasha made out of this? $0. Her agency stepped up. Dickie Spargo and City Church. Guess what? They stepped up. St. Mark's stepped up. Pastor John, I do apologize again if you're looking out there that can never remember the name of your church, but it's on Hudson Boulevard over here. They sent people. They sent food. Does Councilwoman Littlejohn and I agree on how we do things? We don't, but we agree to disagree, and at the end of the day, we're still friends. So let's back it up to last week. It was pointed out to me that we did not have a cooling shelter. And I'm going to smile when I say that, because everything I'm saying, you can go back and look at the tape. Because there were people sitting on this dais in a January meeting There was a gentleman named Carson Dean that was standing right here that we were authorizing $1.5 million to his organization. Couldn't answer any question, where'd the money go? But yet, he gets paid a whole bunch of money to solve homelessness. We have a council person that sits up here. Her job, you can go back and look at the tape. Oh, when I ran that organization, when I ran that organization, when I ran that organization. Well, if you ran it then and you have anything to do with it now, you're not doing your job. Because the thing about it is, I am a Republican, and I'm a proud Republican. But what I am proud the most of is I'm a compassionate conservative. Because my parents raised me to take care of the least among us. And what I have witnessed in the last 7 days is nothing but petty politics, vindictiveness, and I could go on and on and on. So last Friday, I was talking to staff members, and I just asked a simple question. Why can't we use the Salvation Army? Well, you can't get in there. It's not safe. So I do what I do. Because, see, some people that sit up here, they get upset that I make things happen. Some of them are upset that I mention my millionaire friends. Well, if you're going to get it right, folks, it's millionaire and billionaire friends, and guess what? They want to bring money to this city because they know what I stand for and they know what I'm capable of. But yet people that sit up here, not these two, they want to play petty politics with people's lives and our citizens. I don't play that, okay? So I'm throwing down the gauntlet today because I'm tired of the games, I'm tired of the backbiting, because guess what? You want to know who showed up? Tasha White, Dickie Spargo, and other churches. So, back to Friday. I called our fire chief. I asked a question. The fire chief answered the question. Then I called him back a little bit later, and he said, Mayor, I got a feeling you was going to call back, so I got some guys waiting. So the fire marshal, fire inspector came out. We walked the whole building. There were 3 issues. 2 light bulbs for exit signs and a riser that needs to be serviced for the fire suppression system. Well, the part of the building that we're using is segregated from the rest of the building and does not have sprinkler systems. So we were told that we could use the building. So Monday, it didn't happen. So Friday, we had 2. City Attorney, can I put you on the spot? Did you or did you not say on Friday afternoon that we would have been better off not doing anything out there because this looked pathetic?
So, happy to answer any questions about law, but
Okay. So, several people have said we shouldn't have done anything. I agree with them. It made us, as the city of Gastonia, it made this Gaston County look like we were a bunch of hillbillies. And if that is acceptable to you, I would wish you would move out of Gastonia. Because that is not acceptable to me. It should not be acceptable to you. Because if you don't take care of people, guess what? Some of these people in the homeless community, they're trying. Some of them we will never reach. But I will tell you this. How many people in here have animals? How many have dogs, cats? Okay? Would you let your dogs out this afternoon for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours? Okay. So at the end of the day, people that sit on this dais, some people that are on our staff, think it's okay to put people, and I can guarantee you they wouldn't let their animals out there. So this meeting was called today because of the confusion that has been going on. There is no confusion except that people, and I'll call it out, our city manager and other people that sit on this dais, They're upset because of myself and Councilwoman Littlejohn. Because we and Councilwoman Stepp, she's not as vocal as I am, but we talk we talk to each other more than we talk to our spouses. And, but we are always going to do what's right for the people. I don't play politics at all. So this meeting was supposed to be about what I had a consensus on Monday. And the consensus was we were going to go into the building, which we did on Tuesday. And then, lo and behold, some people were going to try to get me in trouble. Guess what? Lock me up. Because I'll get locked up every day to do what's right for the people. That didn't happen, so thank you, Lord Jesus, for me not getting locked up. But guess what? I did what was right. In the community, there were whites, there were blacks, there were Asians, there were Hispanics that all came together. Some other people that sit up here like to play identity politics. I meet you where you're at. That should be enough said. Because when I meet you where you're at, I don't look at color. I don't look at socioeconomic background. I look at you as a person. And what some people have forgot is that we are elected to serve the people. We are elected to make hard decisions. We are the ones that run this city. And there's some people up here who have forgotten that. And some people make excuses for not being here. I'm okay with that, because actions speak louder than words. So Tuesday, when I left, I was the last person to leave. I didn't lock the doors. Danette Dye did that. But I was the last person to leave and lock the gates. I went home for the first time in 19 months since I've sat in this chair and said, I finally got something done. I finally accomplished something. So I get up in the morning. There's a text message that's sent out by somebody from the continuum of care telling volunteers not to show up. First of all, that was not her call. We had food. Now we did do something we weren't really supposed to do. We served homemade food, which we're not allowed, so we weren't going to serve any more homemade food, because that's not the reason we could occupy that building. It goes against the occupancy of the building. So we had volunteers lined up all the way through Monday. So we have a person that sent out, and an agency that sent out a message to all the volunteers. It's closed. Who gave her, and I'm not going to ask it now, I'm going to wait till everybody else is up here, because I have been attacked and attacked and attacked, and I've sat up here and smiled. I don't care, because I know my heart is pure, and what I'm doing is about, for everybody that sits in this room, if you live in the city of Gastonia, and even if you don't, that's why I live my life. The good Lord has blessed me, so I decided to give back. And like I said, when I went to bed Tuesday night, I was happy. I got something accomplished. Because on Monday, we gave the city manager and the assistant city manager direction. And then it got into a back and forth. Got ready to say a bad word. I stopped.
Thank you.
In a power play. Guess what? You don't play power plays with people's lives. Okay? And there's some reporters that are in here. I gave them some tidbits and said, oh, why don't you wait until the rest of the story comes out? They didn't do any investigative reporting because it doesn't fit their agenda. And they're buddies with some people that sit up here on the dais. Okay? So I will be having a press conference next week, or I might just wait until the next city council meeting, but I did promise a man that I respect to that at that meeting I would be very calm, because you guys have no clue, and I'm at fault for this, because there's a lot of stuff that I have compartmentalized and said, okay, I don't want to do this because I don't want the city to get any more black eyes than we're getting. Well, guess what? I didn't cause these black eyes. because all I've done is stand up for the people and the taxpayers. That's it, end of story. You might not like me, you might not care for me, that's okay. Because I know that the good Lord is behind me, because I prayed and prayed and prayed to run away from this seat. And it always pulled me back. My wife is not a very religious person. And she told me, you're the right person at the right time in the right place. And see, that's why a lot of stuff has happened the last 6 or 8 months. Cheryl's telling me to shut up over here. I'm usually telling her to be quiet. So I ran. I won. Some people don't like that because they know I'm here to do the people's business. So like I said, I'll get with our city attorney, and I'm going to call an emergency meeting every day because it's so funny. When I release these text messages, the back and forth that's been going on today has made people squirm. They're scared that the truth is going to come out. So guess what happened this afternoon, folks? We have people over there today because pressure to do the right thing is always going to prevail over people's ideologies, people's vindictiveness, people's pettiness. And I'm not a preacher, but I'm going to tell you, it's brought a lot of stuff out sitting in this seat for the last 19 months. And I was prepared to answer or ask our staff some serious questions. But I'm going to wait until the people who are responsible and gave them marching orders. And one of them in particular, I asked, do you really want to go down with that ship? And they said yes. So I'm going to oblige that. Because this meeting was to put all this to rest on the cooling station. And I'll be honest, they both know this. I didn't want to use the Salvation Army because we have other purposes for that building. We are going to use that building. But guess what? Sometimes you just got to do what's right. And I'll shut up until they talk, and then I'll talk some more. But thank you for your time, and thank y'all for being here. And I see numerous volunteers here that actually helped, you know. And when you have to force somebody to do their job, because in our budget, we have a council person that approved money for the agency that they work for. That person should have recused themselves from talking about the budget or even voting on the budget, because that's a conflict of interest. And I'll be quiet for a few minutes. Councilwoman Littlejohn.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, we are going to come back to this feed as we are able to. Once again, that was, as you heard, kind of a heated discussion from Gastonia city leaders regarding the backlash that the city's been receiving over these outdoor cooling centers, which have since been moved indoors, but there's a larger discussion here about what should come next and what other changes might be needed. Once again, we'll try to get that back here on Live Impact News after we touch on this next big topic. So we're pivoting to the sports front here. We have sports reporter Danielle Stein joining us here in the Live Impact News studio, and you were just telling us today about this. I want to get the language right. So it's a deal in principle, if you will.
Correct.
For Patrick Agumong and going to apparently Darby County.
Correct.
Okay, so what can you tell us about this? You just spoke with an insider.
Yeah. So this is literally happened moments ago, and if you watch the 6 o'clock news, we actually had something pretty the opposite of what we are now hearing, because Dean Smith said essentially that Patrick wants to stay here. As of right now, he is our player, but as of the last hour, all of the soccer insiders have alluded to the fact that a deal is now in motion for Big Pat to be going overseas, which is every soccer player's dream, to be going over to England and making that come true. So as of right now, what we know is that it is agreed in principle that Big Pat Patrick Adjumon is going to Derby County in the EFL, which is the championship, the lower level beneath the English Premier League, the level right below that. Derby County is currently in 19th place on the table in that it is a deal for $8 million plus $2 million in addition. So what we know as of right now, I just talked to Tom Bogert, who works with the U.S. men's national team as well as MLS as their primary insider. They call him Tommy Scoops because he's that guy who seems to always have the insight. And it seems that this bid came last week. We knew that he's been linked to Derby County for a while, but he's been linked to a couple of clubs across the ponds as well that we knew that had some interest in him. But it was Derby County's name that was always in the mix, and it seems like that deal is in motion right now.
So, I mean, I remember when it was announced that he was even coming here.
Sure.
And I felt like there was a lot of pomp and circumstance around that announcement. And I don't know if that has come to fruition.
Yeah, so Patrick was drafted back a couple years ago by Charlotte FC.
Yeah.
His story is really amazing, actually.
Yeah.
He's a player who is from the Hartford, Connecticut area, grew up, went to D3 college, went to Eastern Connecticut University. Pretty overlooked for a while. He's a big guy, big player, strong. Ended up going from D3 to D1, going to URI, getting that chance, and then ended up getting drafted by Charlotte FC and going through their system. So he's a guy that Charlotte FC really believed in ever since he was in college. And watching him go from their academy system with their lower level teams within Charlotte FC into their first team as their starting striker to now playing with them in the U.S. national team in this Gold Cup right now. Patrick has been just rising exponentially.
Yeah.
So it was not a surprise to see that a sale like this was coming because his stock has been rising on the international level and as well as the domestic level. These rumors, again, were swirling around Pat coming into the season as well, if he was going to be even staying this long, because these rumors that these clubs overseas were already targeting him. I talked to Pat coming into the season about it, and he said, it's a dream that we all have, is to go play over there. He said, I want to be where my feet are, of course, and it seems from what Tom Bogert and I were just talking about that this is something that makes everybody happy because Pat wants to go and the club is really supporting him. There's all good relations still between the two, and they don't want to be severing that. So they knew that the green light was lit from Pat's side. It was just a matter of Charlotte FC agreeing to those terms as well. And they're getting a pretty penny out of it as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good to hear it's agreeable on all fronts because, I mean, now I guess would come the decisions of what does the team look like going forward once he does leave.
Yeah, so Pat obviously is their number 9, so that's your primary goal scorer. He has been great ever since he has been with this team. Even with him gone for the past month while he's been playing with the U.S. men's national team, there's definitely been a hole, a void, you'd say, that has not been filled so much. So coming July 24th is the start of the summer transfer window. So of course they do have Idan Toklamati, who has been starting as that striker in the interim. But there's a pretty good chance that Charlotte will be targeting someone at that July 24th deadline to fill that position. Again, this is the person who's going to be scoring the goals for your team. Pat has been doing that. He's big, physical. He's 6'4". He draws the attention of every defender from every team that they play. As I was just talking with Tom Bogert, I asked him, is this their number 1 priority come that transfer window, is to look for filling that position once this deal with Pat goes through? And he said if they get the number 9 right and nothing else, it is still going to be a net positive for them. This is their absolute number 1 focus as they're now looking to move forward because they need these goal scorers as well.
So you mentioned your interview with Tom Bogert. When will we be seeing clips of that or extended looks at your conversation? Is that going to be coming tonight or?
Yeah, we're going to have more on that tonight at 11, but full interview. It's pretty insightful stuff about, how this deal went down and also just in terms of what Charlotte FC needs. That hopefully will all be up on social media and on our YouTube channel any moment, honestly.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Anything else you want to leave us with here on this topic, or just wider look at Charlotte FC as things stand here?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a larger picture, it's been really cool to see just the progression of these homegrown players who start, like we talked about, in Hartford, Connecticut, playing for Eastern Connecticut, to now going to be playing with the national team and getting these recognitions to go overseas. It's kind of talking a lot about the development of the youth soccer programs throughout the United States and how far along that they're coming.
Yeah.
That someone like Pat, who was talking about he used to have to walk to the field when he was younger, to now be getting an $8 million offer to go play with a club in the English Championship League. It's pretty exciting. So pretty good sign of what's to come. And of course, they're going to be looking at all options for this transfer window, whether it be someone international or a homegrown player. But it does speak well to say that there's a lot of really good talents here in the States as well.
Okay. All right, to be continued.
Yes.
Danielle Stein, thanks for joining us here in the Live Impact News studio. We look forward to seeing more of your interview with Tom Bogert. You said tonight at 11?
Yeah, we'll have some of that tonight at 11 for sure.
And of course, you can watch that here on WCNC Plus as we turn over to the 11 o'clock newscast. We have sports during that half-hour show for you, so stay tuned for that. And of course, Danielle, come back if you ever have any other updates to share.
Next door, so you
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, and as promised, folks, we do want to send you back to this earlier meeting with Gastonia city leaders discussing the cooling centers, the backlash that the community has presented because of these centers being outdoors for a period of time. And once again, this is in progress, so we're just going to pick up where we left off here.
$2 million.
2.4.
And they said, well, the planning was in place. Now, when all of these people showed up, and I said to every last one of them, if 6 months of planning went in to those 2 fans and a cooler, the planners need to be fired. Absolutely. And I mean what I said, and I said what I meant. Now I'm going to say this meeting right here, yes, he wanted to call it. Other people had other obligations. And I'm going to say this. Yes, a lot of texts have been going on. And I specifically went to 2 people today, and I have the fire. Thank you for showing up for the citizens. See, the only person that can shut down a building that's not up to code is the fire department. So do I trust the text is saying that a building is not safe? Not at all.
So why are they there
Well,
now?
excuse me. So I said this. I showed up at Chief Welch's office this morning. I have the fire inspection report that they sent to the city of Gastonia last week. And they cleared that building last Friday. Now, an email went out from COC. I don't know who the lady is or whatever, but let me tell you this.
Barbie.
Chief Stowe is the fire marshal. Fire Chief Welch I met with because that's in their purview. They are the only people that can shut down the building and tell us that it's not safe. And that's not what they did. I got the report. The building is safe. We own it. All of the back and forth is unnecessary. Mm-hmm. We have 5 days that and I'm going to say this. You have people that spent money. I just left the Salvation Army building, and we had Help Carolina with a van packing up all of their stuff that they donated because of what? This is nothing but pride. It is back and forth between, guess what, our city manager. And I just told every last one of them and the city attorney. I only asked the attorney anything that has to do with statutes. So I've been pretty versed right now in law one-on-one. And I thank Eric for doing that. But it is appalling that, and I'm going to say it, that we have a city manager that go on vacation, did not file a letter with the city clerk. So what happens when he doesn't file the letter? He's still in charge. Don't mind it. But at least some assistant city managers stepped up. Now, during this whole period, Councilwoman Littlejohn was out of town on business. But they met, they opened, and I thanked Quentin McFadder for stepping up and doing what was right by citizens, by the least of these. That's all we talking about. So all of the pettiness, yes, it has been petty. And I'm going to tell you this, and I thought my sister was going to be here, but she told me, she said, Cheryl, stop trying to make people care. Now I'm telling you, that's what this is all about. Is people don't care. And I got a sister that tells me, stop trying to make them care. They do not care. And I'm begging people, this ain't grandstanding. What I'm doing is this, I'm holding people accountable. And I'm going through Ward 4, and I'm saying, and the main thing right now is that after talking to the chief of gyms, because in the text, the city manager said it was Jim's call. And I'm telling you, when somebody try to throw somebody under the bus, guess what? I'm chasing it down. And I went straight over to Jim's and I sat down with the chief. And he told me, he said, Councilwoman Littlejohn, I don't have anything to do with the inside of that building. I give the orders on the outside. And the outside is what I'm responsible for. In a meeting, he said, I made the call. During an entire day, they look at a weather forecast. He said, anytime during a day, if it says it's 90 degrees, we're going to open up the cooling station at 10 o'clock all the way to 6. But no, this morning, we're going back and forth with council people. You micromanaging them. No, I'm not. Let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm holding people accountable. So a gyms person that was in a meeting with Continuum of Care, and he told me out of his mouth, Chief Lampier, he said, Councilwoman Littlejohn, we said in meetings, if the temperature during the day, if it says the forecast is 90-degree temperature, is at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock, we're going to open up that facility at 10, and we will stay open to 6. But today, we going back and forth. We being petty. Well, it says Gastonia is going to be 90 at 3 o'clock. Come on, y'all. Now, that's what we going. Jennifer, you there? That's it. That's what, come on. And I say this, we can do better. But get mad at me for speaking up for the unhoused. And let me say to everybody in here, we have all fallen on some hard times. But let me tell you what I'm not going to do. I will not allow people to be comfortable in wrongdoing. And be comfortable because we want to say unhoused. These are homeless individuals. And all they need and all that, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Tasha White rallied the churches. She rallied volunteers all over this city to guess what? To care. To care. To do something that my sister said that they didn't, and she was talking about the city of Gastonia. So guess what? People showed up. People showed up on Tuesday. I make a call. And the call was, we ready to go? Mayor Frank said, Cheryl, no, they closed. I said, what are you talking about? this report says we can open from the fire department. Now, I'm going to tell every last one of y'all, the fire department, they said we were good on Friday. How many days did we allow people to suffer? How many days did we allow people to be in harm's way because of politics? It is unnecessary, it's ugly, it's mean, and I said on the text, it's pathetic that we are going to go back and forth over people's lives. And I'm going to say this, and everybody said, well, Cheryl, you making the council look bad. No, we making ourselves look bad. I'm a part of some mess now that we need to clean up. And what I'm not going to do is allow anyone to threaten, bully, try to intimidate. Oh, they bringing the fire, and I told Chief Welch, I think Stowe today, I said, being facetious, I said, they don't understand. I got flame retardant all over me. Bring the fire. We talking about lives. We talking about people right now. At 3:37, we were supposed to be open this morning at 10 o'clock. But we got volunteers going to get their stuff out of a building. Now, I asked every last one of you all, you'll never know if you or your seed gonna need some help one day. I'm telling you. And we got people that is intimidated because they report to somebody, and I'm telling you, I called on a person, and they said, well, you know, Councilwoman Lodge, I just feel like I'm in between. That's what's happening here. We got a culture of intimidation. We got a culture that is bad. And, oh, micromanaging, no. I'm making people step up and do, excuse me, I was going to say it, their job. That's it. And I spoke, and I hope at this meeting that we can ask questions because the continuum of care is here, correct?
That is correct.
I was with you on Sunday. Saturday, correct?
Correct.
Now let me say this. On Saturday, I was told that they got a call at the last minute. Now, yep, y'all get quiet. And see, people running, nobody should fear for their jobs because they want to tell the truth. But that's what's happening now. And I made a call. I said to somebody, are they pressuring you? Well, Councilwoman Little John, I just want, well, people's funding is in jeopardy because they want to tell the truth. People's jobs on the line because they want to do what's right. Now I'm going to say this, it's not right. There's nothing that has happened in the last week and a half has been right by the unhoused. And because what I was told was, we need to get to the table. Let me tell you this, I don't know how many tables that we didn't been at, but in January, it was cold. They knew that this hot weather was coming. Yes. And let me say this, whoever the lead agency was, it should not be us. If somebody else is the lead agency, and if that is what came out of some planning, it was poor planning, it was poor preparation, and it was disgusting. And the area that they put the cooler, grass is about 3 feet high. Now, if that area is owned by the city, shame on the city that they didn't go in there and cut it to make it acceptable to the unhoused. But we cleaned up the area where the building was. But all of those volunteers that came yesterday, and it was locked, but they set up their tent outside. Now I want y'all to hear me. The only reason that they moved because they were told that they were trespassing. We own the property. So we're going to trespass some volunteers that's outside with water. It makes no sense. So I'm gonna go to Jennifer. But let me say this, that's true. My grandmother used to say common sense is not common. And I know Mayor Franks had told me, he said, well, Cheryl, you know, people say that you up here, and I think we need to take it down. Well, I'm here to inform everybody in this room, this ain't the time to take it down. This ain't time to take it down. You know why? I didn't try that, and I didn't get no results. So I'm going to keep speaking loud and proud for the unhoused, homeless, the least of these, Ward 4, until we do right. But we're going to hold some people accountable for what they did, because today we supposed to be open. This ain't Jim's, and I ain't going to let nobody, I'm telling you this, try to throw the chief and Jim's in the county under the bus. Not at all. I've already went to the fire department, and I went to Jim's. They have done what's right. It's us. That's where the problem is.
Councilwoman Stipp.
I have a little different personality than my colleagues up here. So
And we've all known each other over 40 years.
we're all Huss graduates, and we all went to school together. But I tend to come at things from a different approach. So I'm not going to get fired up. That doesn't mean I don't care. That doesn't mean that I am not working on a plan to find solutions. But I do want to. I always come at things from. I want to. It's a little different perspective, and maybe it's just from being here longer than these two. I've worked with these other council people. They care. To say they don't care is unfair. Some of them are out of town with their family. Some of them had job obligations. So it's not that they don't care. I don't want to portray these people as that they don't care about the city. They wouldn't devote the time that they do if they didn't care. So I want to be fair. I want to be fair about that. And then I also want to just talk about how things have been done in the past. I don't think any of this was intentional. I felt like this sort of fell in the city's lap. In the past, the county has handled the cooling station. They do have the Department of Health and Human Services. We and the Continuum of Care and GIMS, which is a county organization, have partnered with them. And this year, I did ask the question, was there a plan in place? I was told yes from someone in the county. And then when it got hot, evidently there was no plan in place. I'm not sure why there wasn't a plan in place. So then it fell to us to try to get something together quickly. What was put together quickly was not acceptable. It was not adequate. We didn't have tents. In the past, we've had tents with misters. Evidently, those have been worn out or broken. I wish we had known sooner. Maybe we could have worked to purchase some. So then we had to try to pivot and figure out a new solution. So that is when we tried to find a way to temporarily use that facility in order to get some people some relief. And the safety issue was not just about the fire inspection. We had no procedures in place because things happened so quickly. We had no training, true training, because things happened so quickly. The first day we had no law enforcement up there because things happened so quickly. And we did. We got through that day. We pulled together. We had staff up there. We had many wonderful volunteers up there. We had council people up there. And we got through that day. But it's also our responsibility as we try to help these people to make sure we're doing things by law, by procedure, and in a safe way. And that doesn't just mean light bulbs and sprinkler systems. That means to make sure everyone that might come into that building, whether they are a volunteer, a homeless person, or a staff member, is safe. So when we say when someone maybe said this building was not safe, I didn't say that, but wherever that came from, I'm assuming they meant because we were still working to get all those things in place because things happened so quickly. It wasn't from a lack of care. It was from a heart, I think, of trying to make sure it was done right. And we will continue to work on these things. So what I'm saying to you is, obviously, I care. I've worked tirelessly for this community for almost 8 years. Well, before that in other ways, but as a council member. And I have done, I've worked when the Peacock was open. I've done point-in-time counts. I've done things through my church who tried to start a ministry with other churches. So it's not like I don't care. And I do think we need to find a solution, and I'm ready to work to find that solution. But I want to be fair about it, and I want to make sure everyone is safe. Communication broke down somewhere along this way. And we need to come to the table together, and we need to partner with one another. Tasha says it all the time. When spiders, revs, right. So, we all have to work together. So when I come about it from a point of view of let's stop all of this that's causing some division so that we can come together, so people feel like they can come together and work together to find common sense, real solutions. There's always going to be people who think, oh, you didn't do the right thing, or you did do the right thing, you could have done better, you did right. But in the end, the goal is to help the people that need to be helped. Let's come together, let's work together, and let's get a solution that works for everybody. It's going to take us all, guys. It's not going to just take the city council. It's not going to just take Help Inc. It's not just going to take the county. It's not just going to take continuing care. It's going to take everybody. I'm willing to step up and do what I can in my position as both a citizen, a church member at First ARP, and as a city council member. But let's stop blaming, put the past behind us, and look forward and find solutions. Thank you.
See, that's where, like I said, Councilwoman Stepp and I have been friends for 43 years, something like that. Long time.
We're old, so.
We're old, so. And we always agree. I mean, you would have thought we were going to shoot each other yesterday. We went at it so hard. And I agree with everything that she just said. We have different approaches. But I keep saying the videotape. Go back to our January meeting that was held in these exact chambers. Everybody was saying, Mayor Franks, you don't care about people. It's cold outside. Guess what? They came in here and blamed the dude, Carson Dean, for the continuum of care. A council person defended it. They said, oh, well, you didn't tell us. When you get paid to do a job, and some people said, oh, well, the mayor just doesn't understand healthcare net. Gastonia Healthcare Net, or whatever it's called.
HealthNet Gaston.
Well, HealthNet Gaston, okay? So, do your job, okay? And the thing is I told them, go back and look at the tape. If this happens again.
All right, folks, we will come back to the Gastonia discussion on cooling centers as soon as we're able to. But you can see in our 3-box here one of the shots we've been watching, the live feed from the Iowa State Fairgrounds, now showing President Donald Trump in what is now his first address since the passage of the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill today. As we mentioned, it passed the House by a pretty tight roll call, 218 to 214 vote. He is expected to talk about this and other pieces of his agenda as the folks here are gathered for patriotic festivities in marking coming Independence Day. So let's listen in now.
Be back in a state that I love, and I really do love it too, with thousands of proud, hardworking patriots at the world-famous Iowa State Fairgrounds. Thank you. Thank you. 18 months ago, the people of Iowa braved sub-zero temperatures. You remember that night? Oh, that was cold. It was cold, but we were warm inside because we won by a landslide to turn out the first in the nation caucuses, and you delivered 98 out of 99 counties What the hell county didn't? What's the name of that county? Let's get them out of here. 98 out of 99, that's not bad, Susie, I guess, right? We'll take that. But for President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, thank you very much, everybody. Then in November, we won Iowa by a landslide, 13 points, and it was the single largest presidential victory in your state's history. That's not bad. And now we're back where it all started to celebrate 5 months of incredible success for our nation and wish the Iowans and all Americans a very happy 4th of July. It's an honor to be with you. It's an honor. You know, a lot of people wanted us. When you're president, they want you. And if you're not president, they don't want you so much. But they really wanted us. And I said, nope, I'm going to Iowa because I promised I would go to Iowa. Sorry. I said, no way. There could be no better birthday present for America than the phenomenal victory we achieved just hours ago when Congress passed the one big, beautiful bill to make America great again. Right? And in the last election, the people gave us a historic mandate to cut taxes, raise take-home pay, bring back jobs, stop the invasion, that horrible invasion. Who would do that? Who would do that? That horrible, who would do that to us? Who would do that to us? Deport the illegals and slash hundreds of billions of dollars of waste and fraud, and that's what we're doing. With this bill, every major promise I made to the people of Iowa in 2024 became a promise kept. You know, they had a report today on some crazy fake station, but it wasn't fake in this regard. They said, you know, this guy actually did more than he promised. I did. And I have another hat back there. It says, Donald Trump was right about everything. And I said, no. I said, no, that sounds a little too conceited, but it happens to be true, I must tell you. This bill includes the largest tax cut in American history, the largest spending cut in American history, the largest border security investment in American history, although I must tell you, if you saw last month, they had 0 people coming through our border, 0. I'm not sure that's even possible. You know, I'll take it, but somebody must have got it. The other character had hundreds of thousands of people every time. Sometimes in a day, they'd have over 100,000. We had 0, I don't know, for the month. So it must be a little wrong. Maybe they're 2 or 3 or something, but I'll take the 0. And the group that makes up those stats, you know, they're radical left Democrats, so it's probably true. We did a great job on the border. The largest welfare reforms and military upgrades in modern times, that's what we're doing. We rebuilt our military in 2016 in their first term. We rebuilt it. They gave some of it away to Afghanistan on the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. We remember that? We remember that? We don't have days like that. We have days like we just had in Iran. That's the kind of days we have. Complete obliteration. It turned out that was complete obliteration. Think of these guys flying way up in the air on a dark night, no moon, no nothing. Every single target. It's the size of 1/2 a refrigerator door, a little size, 2 by 2. But this is a declaration of independence from a really national decline. We had a national decline. We were a laughing stock all over the world. We had a man as president who shouldn't have been there, you know that. Shouldn't have been there. But we really had independence now over if you look at it, the overtaxation, where we were being taxed out of our lives, independence from overregulation. We have independence now from radical left bureaucrats and independence from the largest alien invasion that I think any country has ever seen. We've never had anything like that. These people were fools. They allowed it to happen. You know, we've already cured inflation. Your gas prices are way down. Everything I said is done. But the one thing, it's hard. It's hard. Think of the time we spent on having murderers and gang members and prisoners from all over the world come into our country. We're getting them out fast, but it's a terrible thing what they've done to our country, and I hope you remember it, what they've done to our country, our beautiful country. 11,888 murderers came into our country, and some we've already gotten out, but it's terrible. Many of them, more than 50%, murdered more than one person. Can you believe it? And they let them come into our beautiful country. Just as I promised, we're making the Trump tax cuts permanent and delivering no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors, right? Front row Joe. We got a lot of front row Joes here. That's very nice. Thank you. Thank you. And we have Mr. Wall. Someday I'm buying that suit, I'm telling you. I like that suit. I'll walk up one day, I'll be dressed like a Wall, just like you. I think he's come to about 200 rallies, and that means you like us. And I think he's a very successful guy, too, believe it or not. He's a top accountant. Can you believe this? And he comes to rallies, he likes the rallies. Front row Joes, they're all successful. But this is what they do for entertainment. But now it's not entertainment. We've saved our country. We've got the hottest country anywhere in the world, as said by many, many leaders of other countries. And we will ignite trillions of dollars in economic growth, increase take-home pay for the typical family by more than $10,000 a year. And very importantly for Iowa, this bill rescues over 2 million family farms from the so-called estate tax or the death tax. In other words, before Trump, you were losing farms to the banks. Before Trump, you were losing the farms like nobody's ever seen before. You love your children. You don't feel so well. You pass away. You leave everything to your children, and they have to pay a big estate tax or a death tax, as we call it. And they couldn't do it. They go out and borrow money, and all of a sudden the bank is foreclosing on the farm. Not going to happen. You have no more estate tax. You have no more death tax to pay. Now, that's if you love your children. If you don't love your children, it doesn't matter. Just forget about what I said. Not going to help you. But if you love them, or if you love somebody that you're leaving it to, think of that. No death tax, no estate tax, no going to the banks and borrowing from, in some cases, a fine banker, and in some cases, Shylocks and bad people. But they took away a lot of family. They destroyed a lot of families. But we did the opposite. So just remember, to me, it's so important. And it was mostly important for places like we're at right now. It's really, I'm so proud of it. At the same time, this bill cuts $1.5 trillion in spending. So wasteful spending is being cut by $1.5 trillion. And I got to tell you, I want to thank Republican congressmen and women, because what they did is incredible last night. And the Senate, the Republican Senate, we got, not with all of the things we did with the tax cuts and rebuilding our military, not one Democrat voted for us. And I think we use it in the campaign that's coming up, the midterms, because we got to beat them. But all of the things that we've given, and they wouldn't vote only because they hate Trump. But I hate them too, you know that? So it's sort of, I really do, I hate them. I cannot stand them because I really believe they hate our country. You want to know the truth? But it kicks illegal aliens off of Medicaid and food stamps and allows us to hire 3,000 new Border Patrol agents and 10,000 new ICE agents, and they are great patriots, the Border Patrol and ICE, to carry out the largest deportation operation in the history of our country. And I don't like saying that. I don't like saying that, but we have a country. We have a country to run, and we have so many people coming in that shouldn't be here. And they did. They came in from prisons, and they came in from drugs and gangs and drug lords, the worst in the world. They came in from mental institutions. They emptied mental institutions into our wonderful country. And I know exactly what's going on in Iowa. You had some horrible crime in Iowa caused by illegal aliens, but we're getting them the hell out of here. We have no choice. And our great, big, beautiful bill, it will build the Golden Dome Missile Defense Shield. We're going to have the best shield. And you saw that just the other day where the missiles are being shot down one after another. You know, they called me to tell me they have to take a shot at us. This was Iran, very respectful. That means they respect us. Because we dropped 14 bombs, they said, we'd like to take 14 shots at you. I said, go ahead, I understand. They said, where they'd do it. I said, good, we emptied out the fort. It was a beautiful military base in Qatar who treated us really fantastically well. And they said, sir, 1 o'clock, okay? I said, it was fine. We could make it later. And we had nobody but 4 gunners. We had 4, they call them gunners, and they shoot the Patriots, they shoot the missiles up. It's hard to believe. So all of a sudden, they said, we're ready. And they were a little nervous about doing it, I want to tell you. Can you imagine? They were nice enough. This is Iran, to call me and tell me that they would like to shoot me at 14 times. So they want to shoot us, and I said, go ahead, and they shot 14 high-grade, very fast missiles. Every single one of them was shot down routinely by these 4 unbelievable gunmen. And they did their job, and that was the end of that. But the big thing was the attack on their nuclear facilities, what those people did. And you know, they're going to be in Washington tomorrow at the White House. We're going to be celebrating. We took not only the pilots, but the people that flew the other planes, but also the mechanics that had these planes going for 37 hours without a stop. You know, we had 50, it was so far away, we had 52 tankers. Think of that, 52 that's loaded up with oil. I wouldn't want to fly one of those suckers over Iran. I say, what happens if they're shot at? Well, sir, that's a tough situation. It's not a pretty sight, but they were unbelievable. 52 tankers to load them up. They followed the planes in, and they never had to stop for fuel. They went 37 hours, actually. And how incredible. What equipment. What equipment. And, you know, China, Russia, they were all watching. Everybody was watching. We have the greatest equipment anywhere in the world. We have the greatest people anywhere in the world. And we have the strongest military anywhere in the world. But we're going to fully modernize our air traffic control system and expand school choice and really so much more. By the way, the air traffic control, you probably don't have that problem here. You know, you have planes land like they... But in some congested areas, you saw what happened with the helicopter and the plane and a lot of other things. If we had great equipment, and we should have had, it was all set up to go, and then Biden canceled the order when he came in. But he canceled a lot of orders because he didn't know what the hell he was doing. There's a case would have never happened. Bells would have gone off, whistles would have gone off, everything would have gone off. It would have never happened. Very simply, the one big beautiful bill would deliver the strongest border on earth, the strongest economy on earth, the strongest military on earth, and ensure the United States of America will remain the strongest country anywhere on this beautiful planet of ours. 165 days into the Trump administration, America is on a winning streak like, frankly, nobody's ever seen before in the history of the presidency. I said, they said, you know, sir, you're going to go down as one of the greatest presidents ever. I said, really? No, I said, really? I said, better than Washington? They said, yes, sir. I said, better than Honest Abe Lincoln? They said, yes, sir. I said, I like this guy that said that. That's a smart guy. He's up for a big promotion right now. But just a few months ago, our country was cold as ice. We were laughed at all over the world. We were laughed at. Think of it, a year ago, we were laughed at. We were a bunch of clowns. They were laughing at our president. They were laughing at everything having to do with our country. I was in Saudi Arabia. I was in Qatar. I was in UAE. Great leaders, strong, powerful, very rich leaders too, by the way. But great leaders, very smart people. And they said to me, the king of Saudi Arabia, but the three said the same thing essentially. They said, you know, a year ago, we thought your country was finished. We thought it was dead. Dead. Horrible word. Dead. And they were right. The country was close to death. And he said, and you know what? You've been in there. At that time, it was 4.5 months. It was a couple of months ago. He said, right now, you're in the hottest country anywhere in the world. There's no country in the world. You talked about all over the world. You got the hottest, smartest, sharpest country. And by the way, look at our stock market. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars on tariffs with no inflation. And today we just set another record, the highest stock market in history. No inflation. And one of the great economists from the Wharton School of Finance, where I happened to go, he apologized. He says, you know, I think Trump outsmarted us all. And yesterday was the poll, and out of 77 economists, I came in second. I want to find the guy that came out first. There's somebody came in first. Can you believe it? But we said what was going to happen, and it's happening. And I'll tell you what, we had the greatest economy in the history of my first term. This is going to blow it away. You watch. This is going to blow it away. For the first time in years, this 4th of July, the economy is roaring, incomes are soaring, wages are up, prices are down. Gasoline. You see what's going on with gasoline? It's way down. See what's going on with eggs? Eggs are way down, eggs. Remember, I came in my first week, the fake news, those guys right there, look at all of them. Wow, that's a... Wow. No, a lot of fake. No, but we like them. It just shows you, when you can get every story, 100% of the stories, no matter what you do that's good, they make it as bad as possible, and then you win in a landslide. There's something wrong. But the fake news hit me with eggs. Remember, the first week, 4 days. Eggs are through the roof. I said, I just got here. What's going on with eggs? Tell me. I didn't hear about it. They're up 5 times higher than they should be. They were going through the roof, but they were blaming me. I said, I just got here. And within 2 months, our great Secretary of Agriculture, who I think is with us tonight, Brooke, where's Brooke? Oh, look at you. Look, she is here. She flew all the way from, she comes from Texas, but I think she likes Iowa maybe even better. Look at her. You did a good job with groceries and with eggs. We'll tell you, it's true. They said, we have them this time, finally. It took an egg to get me, but that didn't happen either. Now they're down to a normal price, and people are ordering like crazy. But inflation is dead. 401ks and retirement accounts just hit an all-time record high. Did I hear what I think I heard? But we've achieved the lowest level of illegal border crossings in U.S. history, 0 illegals. Think of it, we had 0. And as I said, and I'll say it again, I love it because I have never seen any country suffer. No country has ever. There's never, don't worry, it's only fireworks, I hope. Famous last words. My famous last words, Trump said, don't worry, it's only fireworks. And you always have to think positive. I didn't like that sound either, you know? But last month, American-born workers gained 830,000 new jobs, a record. That's American-born. While the illegal aliens lost 340,000. And we don't want bad for them, but look, we have a country to run, and we want to have them come in, and we want to have them help our farmers. You know, you probably saw I got myself into a little trouble because I said, I don't want to take people away from the farmers. And we're going to do something I think that's going to be good because we want all the criminals out. Everybody agrees that we're finding the criminals, the murderers, the drug dealers. We're getting them the hell out of here. But the farmers, some of the farmers, many of you sitting right here, I have 4 friends right in the 5th row. But some of the farmers, you know, they've had people working for them for years. And we're going to do something. We're working with Christie. And we're going to do something that we're going to sort of put the farmers in charge. And if somebody, if a farmer's been with one of these people that work so hard, they bend over all day. We don't have too many people can do that, but they work very hard and they know them very well. And some of the farmers are literally, you know, they cry when they see this happen. If a farmer is willing to vouch for these people, in some way, Christy, I think we're going to have to just say that's going to be good, right? You know, we're going to be good with it because we don't want to do it. Take all of the workers off the farms. We want the farms to do great like they're doing right now. So Kristi Noem has done a fantastic job, and Tom Homan. And we're working on legislation right now. Susie, right? We're working on legislation right now where farmers, look, they know better. They work with them for years. You had cases where, not here, but just even over the years, where people have worked for on a farm for 14, 15 years, and they get thrown out pretty viciously. And We can't do it. We got to work with the farmers and people that have hotels and leisure properties too. We're going to work with them, and we're going to work very strong and smart. And we're going to put you in charge. We're going to make you responsible. And I think that that's going to make a lot of people happy. Now, serious radical right people, who I also happen to like a lot, they may not be quite as happy, but they'll understand, won't they? Do you think so? Madam Secretary, look at you with a white hat on. Do you think they'll understand that? You're the one that brought this whole situation up. Brooke Rollins brought it up, and she said, so we have a little problem. The farmers are losing a lot of people. And we figured it out, and we have some great stuff being written, and let the farmers be responsible. And then if the farmers don't do a good job, we'll throw them the hell out of the country. We'll let the illegals stay, and we'll throw the farmer the hell out, okay? Get ready, farmer, I'm telling you. But okay, so the fake news will write that. Donald Trump will throw farmers out of our country. They will write it, because whenever I'm sarcastic, you know, when you can't be sarcastic as a politician. Well, if you're me, you can be if you're so I want to say I was only kidding. No, the fake news will write it. Donald Trump wants all farmers thrown the hell out of our country. The audience booed the hell out of him. There was no boo. No, they're fake news. That's why nobody watches them anymore. Violent crime is plummeting, and we're on track to reach the lowest murder rate ever recorded by the end of this year. It looks like we're doing way good. And that's knowing that we have a lot of people in the country that we didn't have in the country 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, we have a lot of people that they allowed into the country that are serious criminals. A lot of them are on their way out, however. Iran's nuclear enrichment has been obliterated. Remember when CNN said, it wasn't obliterated. It was maybe damaged or damaged badly, but obliterated is too strong a word. No, it was obliterated. That's now been proven. The Atomic Energy Commissions, everything, that's been obliterated. And they were trying to demean me by saying that, but they were really demeaning those great pilots and people and mechanics that got those planes over there and were able to shoot from high up in the air going very, very fast, with potentially a lot of things being shot at them, and hit every single one, they're trying to demean me, but to me they were demeaning them. And they got out of the plane and they said, what the hell, we hit every single target. They know better than anybody, but now that's been proven. It's CNN fake news and scammers that work for them, scam writers that work for them. But we understand it, and we fight it back, and a lot of people said, sir, don't criticize it because they're beneath you. No, they're not beneath me. Nobody's beneath. You got to put it, otherwise people don't understand. If you don't say something about it, you got to say it. These people did one of the greatest military hits and maneuvers in the history of our country, and I want them to be appreciated for it. So they're coming to the White House tomorrow night, and I'm signing the bill with the Speaker of the House. And by the way, Mike Johnson did a great job. John Thune did a great job. Everybody. This whole 2 weeks has been incredible, hasn't it? You know, when you think of all of the victories, we stopped 5 nations from going to war, and somebody else will get the Nobel Peace Prize for their writing about Donald Trump. A professor at some school that you've never heard of has received the Nobel Prize for his writing about Donald Trump and what Donald Trump did. I'll say, what about me? I don't get it, but that's one of those things. But think of it, we stopped India and Pakistan, we stopped Kosovo and Serbia. They've been fighting for a long time, and a lot of it was trade. I said, you're not going to trade with us if you're going to go to war. And India, Pakistan was big, very big, for a different reason. I mean, they have little things called nuclear weapons. You would have had pretty soon a nuclear war. We stopped that. In Africa, you look at what was going on in the Congo with Rwanda. That war was going on for 30 years. 30 years, and we stopped it, and it was vicious. 6 million people killed, and it was a bad one. It was killed and killed badly. Machetes. A machete. You know what a machete is? You don't want to know. And we just did a really great job. And then, of course, you cap it off with the hit, the perfect hit in Iran, where they were talking awfully badly. You know, death to America, death to Israel. They were talking awfully badly, and they're not talking badly anymore, to be honest with you. And we might even meet with them and see if they want to meet. They want to meet, and we'll see if we can do something. But they want to meet. I think they want to meet very badly. But our allies have agreed to pay over $1 trillion a year for our defense. You saw what happened in NATO. In fact, we have our ambassador to NATO here. Where's our you know that guy? In Iowa, they know him. Big Matt Whitaker. We have Matt Whitaker from Iowa. I wasn't going to hire him, and then I said, Matt, you come from Iowa, don't you? Yes, sir, I do. Okay, you're hired. Anybody comes from Iowa, I hire. And every branch of the U.S. military is setting records for new enlistments. You know, remember a year ago, it was embarrassing. They couldn't get anybody to go into the military. They couldn't get anybody to go into the police or fire departments. They couldn't get anybody to go into government. And now we just set a record, a new record of enlistments in every single branch of the military and in all police forces. 1 year. 1 year ago, I remember saying to our great First Lady, I said, you know, First Lady, I call her First Lady because it makes me feel good. First Lady, isn't it terrible? You're saying good night, First Lady, my darling. Because it reminds me that I'm president. That's why. Now, I said, First Lady, it's terrible. Nobody wants to join our military force. And you know, that was very demeaning to the people that are in there, that have been in there for a long time doing a good job. And then all of a sudden, like, we get elected and there's a spirit in the country and we start doing well. We have victory after victory in so many different things, especially economically. We're doing so good. We have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing in from other countries. We have plants being built all over. I mean, a little less here because you have enough with your farm. Oh, by the way, but I did get beef and I got ethanol into Europe. You saw that. You saw that. United Kingdom, they didn't want to do it. You know, they never took our beef and they never took our ethanol, and we said, got to do it, and they did, and they were great. We made a wonderful trade deal with them, but we're doing that all over. Is ethanol very important still for Iowa? Is it so? Yes? Anyway, so they're taking it in the United Kingdom, and beef, they never took it because they want to do their own. You know, they have a lot of farms and a lot of farmers, and they want to do their own, but they took it, and it's going to be great. You're going to do, I'll tell you what, the farmers here are going to do incredibly. Plus, we have tariffs on a lot of this stuff that was coming in and absolutely killing you, where they have different forms of vegetation coming in at prices that were very, very bad for you. And a lot of it comes in because they want to put you out of business, and then they want to raise the prices. And we're not letting that happen to the farmers and to Iowa, to Nebraska and Wisconsin and all these other places that have been so great. And in breaking news just yesterday, we reached a historic trade agreement with Vietnam to open their markets to American exports with zero tariffs. They get zero tariffs. And you're going to be giving them vast amounts of farm product, including beef, pork, poultry, dairy, and pure Iowa ethanol. You're going to be given all of those products. And the fact is, I could go on, but the fact is really strong, and it's stronger than it's ever been, and stronger than I've ever seen. The golden age of America is upon us. This is a golden age. This is such a beautiful term, the golden age. And I couldn't have even said it in my first term. I'm telling you, this is going to blow the first term away, and we did great. We got great marks in the first term, and this is going to blow it away. This incredible national resurgence is happening just in time for one of the biggest events in the history of our country. Exactly 1 year from tomorrow, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of America's founding with a birthday party, the likes of which you have never seen before. 2 years ago, I came to Iowa and promised that the festivities would begin right here at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. And tonight, here I am, okay? Promise is kept. Promise is kept. It's an honor, too. It's an honor because you've been with me from the beginning. Thank you. Thank you very much. No, it is an honor. You've been with me from the beginning. It was, without doubt, fact, I had some moments when I said maybe they might not, fake stories were put out there like, I don't like corn. I don't like corn. I love corn. But they give you fake news. I said, do you think that's going to hurt me in Iowa? My numbers went up. No, I don't know. I can't figure you people out. This evening, we're officially launching America 250, an enormous year-long nationwide celebration of our heritage. It's really also a celebration of our flag, our great American flag, and our glorious American freedom. Did anybody see the beautiful flag I put up in front of the White House? Right? Everyone's liking it. Everyone's liking it. I actually put two up. I put one in the front and one in the back. I didn't want to go too crazy. I thought that would be enough. They're big. They're about as big as you can get. We're proud of it. We will be announcing many more details in the weeks to come, but there are just some of the things that we have planned. And I have to say first, in honor of the wonderful tradition of fairgrounds like this one, this is a great fairground. As you know, I've been here before. We will be orchestrating what we're calling the Great American State Fair, and it will start right here in Iowa, right? So we're starting it off in Iowa. Now we're starting it off at your great fairgrounds, and we're going to have a big crowd just like we do tonight. That's a big crowd. I can't even see the end of it. So thank you back there. I'd like to move the press back so they could see better. But the Great American State Fair will bring America 250 programming to fairgrounds across the country, culminating in a giant patriotic festival next summer on the National Mall, featuring exhibits from all 50 states, and all 50 states are excited, and I was excited. When I did the 250, there was nothing I could do. It was 250, it was 250, so I can't say that was my baby. The country happened to be 250 years old, but what I did do is during my first term, I got the Olympics and I got the great soccer, that whole deal, right? We call it soccer, they call it football. I got them both. I got the Olympics. First I got the Olympics and I got it. I was president and I said, it's a shame. It's a shame. I got the World Cup and I have the Olympics. And I did it, and you have no idea. President Obama didn't want to make a call to the Olympics. You know why? Because he went to Switzerland or wherever, and he said, if a president goes to get the Olympics, you have to have a deal. You have to be chosen. He went there and he came in fourth, so he hated them, I guess. And he was unwilling to make a call, and they called me up. Democrats called me up, actually, from Los Angeles, and I said, I'll do it. I made the call, and I couldn't get the people off the phone because they were so starved for love, because nobody would call him from. Anyway, we made a deal. I got the Olympics. Then we got the World Cup with Johnny. We got the World Cup, and I got them both. And I looked at my people. I said, isn't it a shame? I got these two, but it wasn't in the next 4 years. It was right after that and the one after that. And I got the Olympics. I got the World Cup, and we also have 250, so it's a pretty wild term. But I got these two things that are incredible. Nobody else could have done it. I'm telling you, everybody wanted it. Nobody could have done it. And I said, and I won't be president because I'll be president for 4 more years, but it won't be. And then they cheated and rigged the election. They rigged. They don't even turn off the cameras when I say that now because now they know it's true too. But they knew it was true before. Remember, the cameras used to immediately turn off. You see all those beautiful red lights go off. Now I can say whatever I want because then they know it's true. But they knew it was true before. It's fake news. That's what they call it. But you know what? This term is much more consequential than if I had done it.
All right, folks, our time here on Live Impact News is coming to a close quite soon. Don't forget, coming up on the news at 11, we'll have all the very latest headlines, not just on the local front, but we'll look at national and global news. Of course, you see in our 3-box here, top right corner, awaiting some fireworks in uptown Charlotte after the Charlotte Knights did beat the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp today, 10-5, and we've got Sky Show in just a little bit. Hopefully, we'll have some clips for you tonight at 11. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm Vanessa Rufus.